Morning everybody, how are y'all doing today? I'm doing pretty good myself because today we are going to be talking about something that's actually negative towards Xbox for once. Now, I feel like on the channel, I like to talk a lot of smack about PlayStation and Sony to piss off the fanboys, you guys know me, but as much as I don't really like Sony, Microsoft took a massive L recently and I need to address it, and I feel like I just wanted to kind of give my take on it. I know nobody really cares that much, but I figured, hey, it'll make for some nice content, so yeah. I don't really have a plan for this video necessarily. I'm mainly just going to explain what happened for those of you who don't know, and then I'll give my thoughts on the situation afterwards. So let's start by explaining everything that happened recently. So I don't know how you would have not heard this by now if you've been on the internet in the last few days, but especially if you're on PlayStation or PC, I can understand why you wouldn't have heard about this. But basically what happened was there was a massive Xbox Live outage last weekend that was so bad that, as far as I know, basically everything went down. You couldn't purchase games from the store, you couldn't play online games, you couldn't do cloud streaming. Now, all of these things are very typical when servers go down. These are things you would expect, like, oh yeah, if the Xbox servers go down, well, no, duh, obviously I can't play online multiplayer games. And you might be thinking to yourself, at least I can still play my single player games that I have downloaded to my console. Well, you would be dead wrong, my good friend. And this is where the situation got very interesting, because this whole Xbox outage basically exposed Microsoft for still having extreme DRM restrictions. And for those of you who don't know what DRM is, it's basically digital rights management, which basically controls how you can play your games and when you can. So real quick, I'm just going to give a quick explanation as to how Xbox DRM works. So basically how it works is, if you are offline, but your console is set to your home console, you can still play offline games. Like, that doesn't change anything. You could still play offline games that you have downloaded, as long, even if it's digital, whether it's digital or physical, as long as the Xbox is set to your home Xbox, even if you're offline or disconnected from the servers, you can still play those games. But as I already explained, with this outage, it was so bad that you could not even play games you had downloaded that were single player offline only games, which is absolutely inexcusable and ridiculous. And apparently the only possible games, because people ran some tests with this, the only possible Xbox games that would work, even like if you were offline and all the servers went down and stuff, the only games that would work with that are if you had a physical game and it was only playable on the Xbox Series X. If it was like an Xbox One and Series X disc version, wouldn't work. If it was any other physical version, it wouldn't work. And you better be damn sure that if it was a digital version, it definitely did not work. Now, if you've been following the history of Xbox for the last, 9 or so years, I would say 10 or so years, you would remember that back in 2013, when the Xbox One was revealed, one of the reasons it got so much backlash and hate was because of its awful DRM policies. And Microsoft was like, oh, guys, look, we fixed that. Because for those of you who don't know, basically what happened was, back then they were saying that there was no offline allowed whatsoever. The console would basically cease to function if it did not have an internet connection, which was absolutely ridiculous. So obviously Microsoft got a ton of backlash for it, and they went back on it. Or so it would seem, but apparently, according to, this whole outage situation, that is not entirely true. They have not 100% gone back on it, because they clearly very sneakily hid away this very strict DRM system that they just managed to hide it away. Nobody knew about it, and now all of a sudden this outage completely exposed them for the frauds and liars that they are. And as far as I'm aware, PlayStation does not have this type of restriction. I think there are still DRM restrictions on PlayStation, but I don't think they're anywhere near as bad as this. I'm not exactly sure. Again, don't quote me on that. But something I do want to address, again, and I kind of mentioned this before, but a lot of people I've seen are using this as an argument for why physical games need to come back and why physical games are superior. But no, unless the game was specifically designed for Series X, could only be played on Series X and S, and was physical, that was the only way you could play it, and it had to be single player as well. Any other disc form of a game did not work, so nobody try to pull that argument, because it goes out the window immediately. But this just honestly sets a very bad precedent going forward unless Microsoft is willing to do something about this and not be so strict about DRM. Because I know a lot of you are probably wondering, well, why does this DRM even exist in the first place? I'm not exactly sure 100% why, but I'm 99% sure it has to do with like piracy. And what I mean by that is basically, I think what Microsoft is concerned about is the fact that you could download a game on your console, and then you could, like, theoretically, if this system wasn't in place, download it on another console, like, through your account, because you already own the game on that account. And then, like, let me just use an example real quick. Let's just say that your friend wanted this game that you had because you wanted to, like, play it together or whatever. Maybe your friend just wanted to try it out, but he didn't want to, like, spend the money on it in case he didn't like it. Basically, I think what the concern is from Microsoft is that you could sign into their Xbox with your account, and then because it's your account, like, you already own the game on that account, so they're going to let you download it. But then your friend could sign in with his account, and then the game's installed already. So then basically the DRM is checking to make sure that the account that's signing in is the one that actually purchased the game in the first place. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm pretty sure that's basically why it exists. But as Rich from Review Tech USA pointed out, this system is almost pointless, because if someone does have a physical copy, they can just bring over the physical copy to their friend's house, put it in, let the game install, and then anytime their friend wanted to play it, they just needed that disc. Like, so either way, it's the same situation, and DRM cannot stop that no matter what, because DRM can't tell who purchased that physical game. Like, that's not how it works. So obviously, I get they don't want a million people to be able to sign in on an Xbox, download the game, and then play that game forever without ever having to have paid for it. Like, I understand that, but here's my argument for why that's stupid. I think that's stupid because I guarantee most of the time, if people were going to do that and go through the effort of signing into their friend's account, downloading the game, and then swapping back over to the other account, that would be for a multiplayer game that they want to play with that friend. I can't see many instances where people would do that with single-player games that they can't play with anyone else at all. I just don't see that happening. And because it's most likely that that's going to happen only with online games, then why can't you have that feature in place for online games? Because, you know, it makes sense because you can't play those games without an internet connection anyway. So have that in place for the online games, but for single player offline games, just don't have that be a thing in case something like this happens, because millions of people could not play any video games, period, for a few days because of Xbox's own incompetence. So yeah, that's basically just my 2 cents on it. I honestly think that Microsoft should only be doing this for online games, and then for offline games, they're basically DRM just shouldn't exist, period, because, like, what's the point? It's really stupid. And as we've seen from history, like, history keeps repeating itself, piracy has little to no effect on video game sales, because most people who pirate video games weren't planning on buying them anyway, so it makes no difference whatsoever to the developer or the publisher who's going to be getting that money. But anyway, guys, that's just going to about wrap up the video. I just kind of wanted to explain the situation to those of you who didn't know about it, and I just wanted to put my thoughts out there. But please, if you guys made it to the end of it, please tell me your thoughts in the comments below on this whole situation. And personally, I think Xbox and Microsoft are beyond scummy for this, and they absolutely deserve to be called out. And I'm not going to re-explain how I think it should work, because I already did that. But yeah, I want to hear, like, do you guys agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think it should work in a different way? Do you think that what happened is perfectly acceptable? I want to know your guys' thoughts, because I love interacting with you guys in the comments. I love hearing what you guys have to say. But anyway, guys, that's going to just about do it for this video. If you liked the video, leave a like on it, dislike it if you didn't like it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will catch you guys in the next one.